It was one of the weirdest-looking aircraft to have ever graced the skies, and by most accounts, it was nearly flawless. Somehow, this flying box with stubby little wings and 4 enormous 45-foot-long rotor blades managed to successfully combine bus, plane, and helicopter. Taking off vertically from cramped urban spaces, the Fairey Rotodyne used powerful Napier Eland turboprop engines and a unique tip-jet system that shot out a mix of compressed air and fuel. It could whisk up to 50 passengers to their destination in record time. This British winged-rotorcraft was so bizarre it threatened to change aviation forever. Whether the world was ready for it remained to be seen. The Fairey Rotodyne emerged from a vision that had captivated aircraft designers for nearly 2 centuries since the advent of hot air balloons, the dream of a vertical takeoff airliner. In 1930s Britain, significant progress was made in making this vision a reality as aviation companies began looking into developing mass-produced rotary wing aircraft, but World War II forced a shift of priorities. As the conflict came to an end, some manufacturers turned their attention to the idea once more. Among them was Fairey Aviation, principally known for producing naval aircraft such as the Swordfish and the Barracuda. Responding to Air Ministry Specification E-1647, Fairey, led by Dr. J.A.J. Bennett, created the FB-1 Gyrodyne, a rotary wing aircraft featuring a powered rotor in all flight phases. Its collective pitch adjusted automatically based on shaft torque, while a side-mounted propeller provided both forward thrust and rotor torque correction. This unique design allowed the Gyrodyne to combine vertical takeoff and landing capabilities with the efficiency of forward flight, making it more versatile than traditional helicopters or fixed-wing aircraft. Though it never moved beyond the prototype phase, it set the stage for future developments. In December 1951, the commercial passenger airline British European Airways, or BEA, issued a specification of their own. Hoping to capitalize on Europe's growing business travel market, BEA envisioned a 30 to 40 seat aircraft, tentatively called the BEA bus or B-line bus, which would be capable of serving short to medium haul routes and could take off and land easily in inner city areas with limited space. This idea soon attracted the attention of the British government, whose Ministry of Supply agreed to fund several design studies for the BEA requirement. There was a strong feeling that rotorcraft would soon play a key role in the country's transport system. Building on their work with the Gyrodyne, Fairey began drawing up plans for a new aircraft which would bring BEA's concept to life. Though several manufacturers submitted proposals, ranging from the practical to the outlandish, Fairey's design stood out as being the most promising, and it was awarded an initial contract for its development. After experimenting with a range of different configurations and power plants, including the Rolls-Royce Dart and the Armstrong Siddeley Mamba, in April 1953, Fairey finally settled on a model known as the Rotodyne Y and was given a contract to build a single prototype. The Rotodyne Y was a bold departure from conventional aircraft, blending a helicopter's vertical takeoff and landing abilities with a fixed-wing aircraft's efficiency. This unique approach aimed to overcome the limitations of both types, creating a versatile machine for the burgeoning air transport market. At the heart of Fairey's design was its massive 4-bladed rotor, measuring 90 feet in diameter. This rotor set the Rotodyne apart from traditional helicopters, as it was powered by an innovative tip-jet system. Compressed air, generated by the aircraft's main engines, was fed through the rotor blades and mixed with fuel at the tips, where it was ignited. This ingenious design eliminated the need for a tail rotor, simplifying the aircraft's mechanics and improving its efficiency. The Rotodyne's fuselage was purposefully designed with a rectangular shape, offering an unobstructed cabin that could accommodate between 40 and 50 passengers. This spacious interior rivaled that of contemporary fixed-wing airliners, providing a comfortable environment for short to medium-haul flights. At the rear of the main cabin, a pair of double clamshell doors allowed for easy loading and unloading of freight and even vehicles, enhancing the aircraft's versatility for both passenger and cargo operations. For forward propulsion, the Rotodyne relied on 2 Napier Eland NEL3 turboprops, each generating 2,800 shaft horsepower. These engines were mounted beneath fixed wings, a design choice that offered several advantages. During forward flight, the wings provided up to half the aircraft's lift, allowing for higher speeds and improved fuel efficiency compared to traditional helicopters. The engine placement also served a crucial safety function. Each engine fed compressed air to two opposing rotor blades, ensuring that in the event of an engine failure, the remaining engine could still power two tip jets. This redundancy was a key safety feature, addressing concerns about the reliability of this novel aircraft design. The Rotodyne's landing gear utilized a tricycle configuration, with the main wheels retracting forwards into the engine nacelles and the nose wheel retracting forwards below the cockpit. This arrangement provided stability during ground operations and reduced drag during flight. For stability and control, the Rotodyne featured twin fins and rudders mounted on an untapered tailplane atop the rear fuselage. A central fin was later added to enhance directional stability. This tail configuration, combined with the rotor system, allowed the Rotodyne to transition smoothly between vertical and horizontal flight modes. A key feature of the Rotodyne's design was its ability to switch between helicopter and auto-gyro flight modes. This change would occur at approximately 60 miles per hour, when the tip jets would be extinguished and the rotor would begin to auto-rotate, allowing for a smooth transition between the two types of propulsion. However, despite the great promise shown by the Rotodyne's design, its development had been fraught with challenges. Funding for the program had reached a crisis, and spending cuts led the British Ministry of Defence to withdraw its support. The government had agreed to maintain funding only if Fairey contributed to the development costs of the Rotodyne and Napier to those of the Eland engine. This financial pressure had resulted in disagreements within Fairey, leading to the departure of Dr. Bennett, the project's original leader. Despite the difficulties of its development period, on November 6, 1957, the Rotodyne prototype finally took to the skies for its maiden flight, piloted by Squadron Leader W. Ron Galatly and Lieutenant Commander John G.P. Morton. This milestone had come a year later than initially projected, a delay that was viewed as inevitable given the revolutionary nature of the aircraft's design. On April 10, 1958, the Rotodyne demonstrated a successful transition from vertical to horizontal and back to vertical flight for the first time. The aircraft's potential did not go unnoticed. BEA, who had issued the specification that first prompted the development of the Rotodyne, had been monitoring its progress closely through the years. Impressed with the results, the airline issued a letter of intent to purchase 6 aircraft, with a possibility of up to 20. A BEA advertisement from 1958 proclaimed, quote, "This service will fly families out and in for holidays, take businessmen on business trips, and increase the self-sufficiency of every busy provincial center by providing the swift, direct communication nowadays so essential to the development of trade." Meanwhile, the Royal Air Force placed an order for 12 military transport versions. Yet interest was not limited to Britain. The Kaman Aircraft Corporation secured a licensing agreement for sales and service in the USA, with the possibility of manufacturing there. New York Airways signed a letter of intent to acquire 5 Rotodynes at $2 million each, with an option for 15 more. Japan Airlines expressed interest in using the Rotodyne between Tokyo airports and the city itself, as well as on the Tokyo-Osaka route. There were even rumors that the U.S. Army was interested in purchasing around 200 Rotodynes. The Rotodyne's potential seemed to be confirmed on January 5, 1959, when it set a world speed record in the convertiplane category, reaching 190.9 miles per hour over a 60-mile closed circuit. Later that year, on June 16th, the Rotodyne made its first international flight, traveling from Heathrow to Paris via Dover and Brussels in just 2 hours 34 minutes. The following month, in July, the aircraft carried a 103-foot section of bridge over a distance of 3.1 miles, showcasing its potential beyond passenger transport. As the Rotodyne entered the new decade, it had made significant progress. By May 1960, it had flown nearly 1,000 people for 120 hours, spread over 350 flights, and performed 230 transitions between helicopter and auto-gyro modes, all without a single accident. That month, Fairey was taken over by Westland, a move that initially seemed to secure the Rotodyne's future. However, the Rotodyne had certain issues which refused to go away. Since the project's early days, one of its major problems was the noise it produced. Fairey had been confident this could be overcome. By 1955, it had developed 40 different noise suppressors. But no matter how hard they tried, the noise wouldn't go away. During testing, government monitors had determined that noise levels within 500 feet of the pad during takeoff and landing were intolerable, and those within 1,000 feet of the Rotodyne in mid-flight were, quote, unpleasantly noisy. Despite the problem, some had remained optimistic. In 1958, Prime Minister Harold Macmillan wrote to the Minister of Supply, stating, quote, "This project must not be allowed to die." This opinion was echoed the following year in the House of Commons by the Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation, who said of the Rotodyne, quote, "The view of BEA, and my view, is that it is a winner." However, by then, the Treasury was already expressing its opposition to further financing. What's more, the noise problem had led to potential orders being cancelled. Canadian company Okanagan Helicopters, for instance, had placed an order, but found the Rotodyne too loud for trips between Vancouver and Victoria. As Westland continued Fairey's research with the Rotodyne, the noise issue remained. Hawker Siddeley Harrier test pilot John Farley remarked, quote, "From 2 miles away, it would stop a conversation. I mean, the noise of those little jets on the tips of the rotor was just indescribable." Aside from the discomfort it could cause passengers when combined with the high cost of land, it prevented helipads from being placed near urban centers of commerce, which defeated the object of the Rotodyne as a time-saving mode of city-to-city transport for business people. In London, the helipad designated for the Rotodyne was in Battersea, south of the River Thames, and relatively far from most companies' headquarters, a problem compounded by rush-hour traffic. The New Scientist magazine reported in March 1961 that one man had arrived there by helicopter in less than half an hour from Shoreham, West Sussex, nearly 60 miles away, but had then spent another 35 minutes in a taxi to get to his office on Regent Street. There were also concerns about the weight of the rotor system, which was 2,233 pounds above the original projection. This led to doubts about the aircraft's performance, efficiency, and potentially its payload capacity, making it less attractive to potential customers. At the same time, there was a broader restructuring of the British aviation industry, driven by government pressure to cut costs and reduce the number of aircraft firms. This did not represent good news for the Rotodyne project. Fairey had estimated that up to £10 million would be needed to develop the Rotodyne Z, a larger version capable of carrying 57 to 75 passengers. The government had offered to cover 50% of this cost, but only if BEA placed a firm order. This government contribution was to be a loan, repayable through a sales levy. However, BEA remained hesitant. The airline would not purchase the aircraft until it received guarantees over its performance, economy, and noise criteria. The persistent noise issue, in particular, continued to be a significant concern. The final blow came in early 1962. Westland had determined that it would need to contribute a further £9 million to complete development and achieve production-ready status. The company asked the British government for a quote for 18 production Rotodynes, 12 for the Royal Air Force and 6 for BEA. The government's response was devastating. No further support would be issued for the project, citing economic reasons. On February 26, 1962, UK Aviation Minister Peter Thornycroft announced the discontinuation of the Rotodyne project. He revealed that development costs had reached £11 million, and that BEA had informed him it couldn't proceed due to uncertain commercial prospects. Shortly after, BEA officially declined to place an order, primarily due to concerns about the high-profile tip-jet noise issue. The corporation management at Westland, faced with these circumstances, decided that they couldn't justify the investment involved in continuing the development of the Rotodyne. Thus, all work on what had been hailed as the world's first vertical takeoff military and civil transport rotorcraft ended. The Fairey Rotodyne's cancellation in 1962 marked the end of a bold vision for city-to-city air transport, but its legacy continues to spark debate in aviation circles. Former RAF navigator David Gibbings, in his book Fairey Rotodyne, condemned the government for hastily jettisoning years of groundbreaking research. The project's demise echoed the fate of other ambitious British aviation ventures, like the Bristol Brabazon. In a poignant epilogue, the Rotodyne prototype was largely dismantled, leaving only a single fuselage bay, rotors and rotor headmast as silent witnesses to its innovative design. Yet, the Rotodyne's influence persists. Modern projects like the Augusta Westland AW609 and the 2010 Eurocopter X3 share its pioneering spirit, suggesting that the dream of efficient city-center-to-city-center air travel lives on. As aviation expert Jim Oakey reflects, quote, "It was a good idea, but if modern materials, such as carbon fiber, had been around to make it lighter, it could have been a fantastic success." The Rotodyne, it seems, may have been an idea simply ahead of its time, leaving a lingering question of what might have been.